You've seen the title of the video, so let's start with the basics. Let's create our text and canvas UI. Right-click on the hierarchy window, choose UI, and click Text Mesh Pro. This should automatically create a text and a canvas object. If you didn't get a canvas, you can create a canvas on your own by right-clicking on the hierarchy window, choose UI, and click Canvas. Also, if you are using an older version of Unity, you might need to import a Text Mesh Pro plugin first. Let's rename our canvas to Damage Pop-Up. On the canvas component, set the render mode to world space. Then click on the three dots on the Rect Transform component and choose Reset. This will reset all positions to 0. Now let's click on the text object in the hierarchy window. In the Rect Transform component, once again, choose Reset. Click on the link icon on the scale property and change the value to 0.03. Next, change the pivot Y value to 1 and set the width to 50 and height to 10. If you're making damage pop-ups for big numbers in millions or billions, you might want to increase the width even further. Otherwise, it might look like this. The last thing in this component is to set the pos Y to 0. Let's move on to Text Mesh Pro Text UI component to set the text to 6969. Nice. Set font size to 10, and finally change the alignment to middle and center. And that's it. We can see the text result below the plane. Next step, let's turn the canvas into a prefab. On the hierarchy window, click and drag Damage Pop-Up object to the prefabs folder in the project window. Now, to use the Damage Pop-Up prefab, we need to create a generator script. Let's create a new script and name it Damage Pop-Up Generator, and double-click it to open it in Visual Studio. The easiest way to generate damage pop-up is by using a singleton pattern. First, we make a static reference and reference it with itself. This acts like a global variable where we can just call this script from any script without any getComponent references. To generate damage pop-up prefabs, we'll create a reference to the prefab. Let's create a new function called createPopup, where we instantiate the prefab at a certain position and set its text to the parameter. Then, we also set a timer to destroy it after 1 second. If you're using an older version of Unity, the script won't immediately detect the Text Mesh Pro U GUI as a component. Make sure to add using TempPro to the top of the script, and that should fix it. Finally, for testing purposes, we can use the F10 key to call the function and fill it with a random number from 0 to 1000. Save the script and return to Unity. Let's create an empty game object and name it Damage Pop-Up Generator. Then add our Damage Pop-Up Generator component into it. Drag in our Damage Pop-Up prefab into the prefab field. Let's test it in the play mode. Press F10 and it works. It's still kinda basic, so let's add some Genshin Impact inspired animations to it. Let's create another new script called Damage Pop-Up Animation and open it in Visual Studio. Instead of using a mathematical formula to set its animation, we're going to use animation curves. I'll explain why later in the video. Let's start with adding opacity curve so our damage pop-up will appear, fade in, and fade out. Then we'll create a reference to the prefab's text and get the reference in the awake function. We'll also add a timer so that we can track the animation curves with the amount of time passed since this prefab is created. Then from the timer, we can set the alpha value based on the animation curve. Save the script and return to Unity. Let's add our damage pop-up animation script into the damage pop-up object. Click on the curve field and it will open up a curve editor window. Let's start with any of the preset graphs on the bottom. We can right-click on the first key and choose Edit Key and set its time and value to 0. We can also create our own key by right-clicking on the green line and choose Add Key. Then Edit Key again to 0.1 and 1. All of the animation curves in this tutorial use straight lines between its key points instead of actual curves. So to set it to a straight line, right-click on the key point, choose both tangents, and click on Linear. That's the basic of using the curve editor. Now add 2 more key points into the graph according to this table. This is why I chose to use animation curves for animating damage pop-ups. You don't need to find mathematical formulas for the script, and you can change the animation without changing the script. Plus, you might be more familiar with graphs if you've used to other programs like video editors or 3D animators. Once you're done, in the top right corner of the inspector window, click the Overwrite drop-down menu and click Apply All. This will save any changes we made to the prefab. When we go into the play mode, yep, that's much better. But let's not stop there. Let's add another animation curves to change the size or scales of the pop-ups. And add this to the update function. Save the script and return to Unity. Once again, we adjust the new scale curve to this table. I've also included the bigger scale size for crit hits according to Genshin Impact's reference. This time, let's apply this to the prefab by just right-clicking the scale curve text and choose Apply to Prefab Damage Pop-up. Enter play mode, and it looks even better now. Let's add a finishing touch with some upwards movement. Let's add one final animation curve for height. This time, we need to add a new vector3 variable called origin and set it to this object's location during its creation. Otherwise, our damage pop-up will only appear at position 0, 0. Then, in the update function, we add this origin position with the value in the height curve. Save the script and return to Unity. Again, set the new height curve to this table. And don't forget to apply changes to the prefab. In the play mode, yep, that looks really nice. There is just this one little bug that we need to address. You might notice that sometimes the text appears on the ground for 1 frame before it appears at the correct position. This can be easily fixed by changing the vertex color alpha to 0. And don't forget to apply changes to the prefab. The next step is to change our font to a custom font. The first step is to get your own font and put it in your font folder in Project window. But we can't use this font yet on our Text Mesh Pro. So right-click on this font file, choose Create, choose Text Mesh Pro, and click Font Asset. It should create a new file with the name SDF. Now we can click on the text object in the hierarchy window and drag our new SDF file into the font asset field. Don't forget to apply changes to prefab. Enter play mode, and there you go. Next up, how to change text color. Open up Damage Pop-up Generator script again in Visual Studio and add a new color parameter. Add this line to assign the color. Then, in the update function, add a new parameter to specify which color we want in the pop-ups. And that should work nicely. There is a bit of a problem with our damage pop-up right now. If we take a look from a wrong angle, we might not be able to read the numbers or even have it be flipped horizontally. The solution here is to have the canvas always facing the camera. This is called billboarding. Let's create our last script in this video and call it UI Billboarding. Then open it in Visual Studio. First, we want to store a reference to the camera object. We can do this in the awake function by calling camera main. Then in the update function, we tell the canvas to always face the same direction as the camera. And that's it. Save the script and return to Unity. Add this new script into the damage pop-up object and override the changes to the prefab. In the play mode, we can see that it works no matter where you look at it. But this doesn't help us see the numbers if the pop-ups are obstructed by other game objects. To fix this, click on the text object in the hierarchy window. In the inspector window, scroll down until you see the shader drop-down menu. Change the shader to Text Mesh Pro, Distance Field Overlay. That should do it. In the play mode, now the text will always visible behind any object. For your information, the material shader is tied to your Text Mesh Pro font asset. So if you want to have the same font with both a regular text and a text that always appears on top, just duplicate the text asset file and assign different shaders. For the closing act, let's apply this damage pop-up to our Attributes Manager script from the previous tutorial. Open the Attributes Manager script in Visual Studio and add this new code to our Take Damage function. As you can see, we don't need to create any reference to the damage pop-up because of the singleton pattern. In play mode, pressing F11 will damage the enemy and F12 will damage the player, just like in the previous video. But now we can see the damage as pop-ups. If you want to go a little bit further, consider randomizing the pop-up location by a bit. This will improve damage pop-up readability if you can deal many instances of damage in a short time. And that's pretty much it. If this video helps you, then don't forget to like the video. This is part 2 on the series of making a full 3D melee combat game. So consider subscribing and ring the bell so you'll be notified when a new tutorial comes up. Feel free to leave any questions in the comment section down below. And with that, I think I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.